From the studios of Farm Journal Broadcast, this is AgDay.
Soybeans gain the upper hand.
That's one of the most uneventful June 1 quarterly grain stocks reports that I've seen for quite some time.
What's the week ahead look like for grain markets?
This market has been very violent to the downside. The U.S. farmer has lost lots of money.
Trade rhetoric heats up north of the border.
We will not escalate, and we will not back down.
Machinery Pete chops through combine sales, and grape growers grapple with weather.
AgDay, presented by the Chevy Silverado. High-strength steel for high-strength dependability.
Good morning, I'm Clinton Griffiths. While trade tensions have weighed heavily on grain prices, soybeans in particular, the government says soybean plantings still outpace corn this year. For the first time in 35 years, the number of soybean acres have surpassed corn plantings, 89.6 to 89.1. That's according to USDA. Both of those numbers are higher than previous USDA estimates.
We also know the market has been watching this very good weather we've had, and overall the crop conditions look quite good at this point. Now I'm going to build in some anticipation over the next few weeks of a little bit more harmful weather, and USDA is using a yield number of 174 bushels at this point. I'm going to up that to about 177 bushels. A lot of models that have been run have been showing even higher than that, but I think we have to be a little cautious as we look at some, at least quite a bit of heat going into the next couple of weeks.
USDA expecting spring wheat acres are up 20% from a year ago, coming in at 13.2 million acres. All wheat planted area, well, it's in at 47.8 million acres, up 4% from last year's record low. This represents the second lowest all wheat planted area since records began back in 1919. Cotton plantings are up 7% from a year ago, coming in at 13.5 million acres. This USDA map shows a wave of blue reflecting the states with higher cotton plantings this year. The biggest cotton producer, Texas, is up about 500,000 acres. Farm Journal economist and AgriTalk host Chip Flory compares the matchup to the March intentions report.
When we got the prospective plantings report, everybody's attitude was we're missing anywhere from 1.5 million, maybe as much as 2.5 million acres from the total crop mix. Well, we found them. We got them back. Corn acres compared to the March intentions up 1.1 million. Soybean plantings compared to March intentions up 575,000 acres. Cotton acres up about 50,000 acres. And spring wheat up about 600,000 acres from the March intentions. We got all those acres that we thought we were missing back. The way that the market is responding to it, I think all of this has already been factored into the market. Now we need to look at weather, and probably some more weather going forward. With all the heat coming in, that could be starting to influence the price action in corn.
USDA also releasing its quarterly grain stocks report. Soybeans in storage totaling 1.2 billion bushels, which is 26% above last year's levels. Corn in storage registering at 5.3 billion bushels, up slightly from a year ago. Again, Chip Flory.
Corn stocks in all positions on June 1 came in 38 million bushels above the average pre-report trade guess. Bean stocks 3 million bushels below the average trade guess, and wheat stocks about 10 million bushels above the average pre-report trade guess. That's one of the most uneventful June 1 quarterly grain stocks reports that I've seen for quite some time. I don't think it's really having that much impact on price action.
Canadian farmers are planting more canola than previously estimated this year. Statistics Canada, their version of NASS, shows fewer canola acres than last year, but not as significant of a drop as forecasted in March. They're planting about 23 million acres of canola. That's down 1%. All wheat acres are up about 10% to nearly 25 million acres. But soybeans, they took a big hit, down 13% from last year. They're planting just over 6 million acres. Also north of the border, as the week came to a close Friday, the Canadian government released a list of U.S. goods that it is targeting for tariffs totaling more than $12 billion. This is in response to U.S. tariffs on Canadian steel and aluminum. Some U.S. items are taxed 25%, others face 10% levies. Canada's foreign minister says they had no other choice and will not escalate the dispute, but also will not back down.
I cannot emphasize enough the regret with which we take these countermeasures. We are acting very much in sorrow, not in anger. But the U.S. tariffs leave Canada no choice but to defend our industries, our workers, and our communities. And I can assure you that we will maintain the firm resolve to do so. The solution to this unprecedented dispute is for the United States to rescind its tariffs on Canadian steel and aluminum, which do not pose any kind of security threat to the United States.
Freeland says the U.S. tariffs are illegal under WTO and NAFTA rules. From our reporting partners at Farm Journal's Pork, the hog industry continues to grow, but the June 2018 Hogs and Pigs report from USDA shows an even higher inventory than economists predicted. The June data showing a record high report for the nation's sow and pig herd. Of the 73.5 million hogs and pigs, 67 million were market hogs, while 6 million were being kept for breeding. And it's that breeding herd size that really surprised analysts. It's up 3.5% from a year ago. Iowa remains the largest hog producer with nearly 23 million head.
So we're looking at 26.7 billion pounds of production coming online this year. Of course, we have new plants that are opening and ramping up to full production. So hopefully those are able to do so on time. We certainly have a lot of hogs coming our way this fall.
A new farm bill may be headed for its toughest negotiation yet. Last Thursday, the Senate passing its version of the bill, 86-11. The legislation now must be reconciled with the House version, and both chambers must adopt the final language before heading to the president. The sticking point likely to be new work requirements for some of the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. House Republicans say it may be difficult to pass a final bill through the House without SNAP reforms. Overall, the Senate bill offers few changes from the current bill that expires later this year. It does include an amendment to allow partial hang and grazing on CRP acres and a proposal to reform the definition of, quote, actively engaged in a farming operation in order to receive farm payments. We're talking a lot about heat this week, but rain has been an issue in parts of the Midwest. Mike Hoffman has more in today's Crop Comments.
Good morning, Clinton. It's been a wet start to the summer for parts of the upper Midwest. Jody DeJong Hughes shared this aerial photo with us from near Montevideo, Minnesota. She says it's easy to see which fields have tile. They've seen between 6 and 10 inches of rain over the past couple of weeks. In some places, alfalfa should have been cut 4 weeks ago. It's still sitting in the field. Now, taking a look at the drought monitor, you can see obviously no worries about drought in southern Minnesota, but northern Missouri on down into the panhandles of Texas and Oklahoma, and especially the Southwest, definitely some troubles with drought. We'll let you know who gets the rain this week and look at your 90-day forecast coming up in just a few minutes. First, here are some hometown temps.
Keeping track of the shifting market prices has never been so easy. Get the latest commodity prices sent directly to your cell phone with market updates. Just text Markets 8 to 31313 to get started.
Final acreage numbers are in. We'll talk about what it means coming up from the Agribusiness Desk, and later, Machinery Pete is here.
Folks, stay tuned. Coming up, we'll have a chat about used combine values.
And vineyards are moving grapes north for cooler temperatures. We'll take a look coming up. In agribusiness, markets with a mixed reaction to that acreage report, including a boost for wheat. Let's find out more from the floor of the CME in Chicago.
A lot of activity. Big report day. Yesterday was the hog and pig report. Today, cattle was higher. It went limit up. Technical buying really is raising those futures more than 1.5%, almost 2%, really, as we got to the end of the day, and really pushing the market higher. Feeders were also surging. The 2 front months were up. Today was actually the last day of the June contract. All the other months really started to rally and limit up. We haven't seen this in quite a while, especially with corn rallying as high as it is. It certainly looks like the market was just so low for a long time. We were really due for a rebound here as we're going into the 4th of July weekend, or 4th of July holiday, which lands on Wednesday, so it's going to be right in the middle of the week. And normally we would think that's not going to give us enough pop, but it's really given us a little bit of a surge today. Wheat was the big rally for the day, up over 20 cents, up 23.5 cents almost. And it's really started with the France cutting their crop yield that really got the market started to roll. And I think what happened was a lot of the short covering began and started to run right into the report. That's all from the floor at the CME Group here in Chicago. I'm Virginia McGathy.
Here at the Agribusiness Desk on a Monday morning, we have Doug Whirling, Bauer Trading, Bob Utterback Marketing. All right, gentlemen, what did we learn last week? We had the big acreage report. Are there any takeaways from what markets did following that report?
Well, first off, before you get into that, one of the biggest things you learned here over the last few weeks is the function of the market is to discipline government. And what I mean by that is this market has been very violent to the downside. The U.S. farmer has lost lots of money. And what does that do? It says, go to your government, hey, what are you doing here with these trade negotiations? On the other side of that, inside China, you're seeing soybean prices go up, you're seeing meal prices go up because they have to source beans from a different individual at a higher price. So, you know, they're going to be going to their government, hey, what are you doing here? That is the general function of the market. The crop report that came out at the end of last week pretty much kind of dialed in. There were some things, there were some outliers, but we had talked about it for so long.
Right.
It didn't have as big of effect as it normally had because we've had no rally. We beat these markets up so bad.
What do you think, Bob?
What we learned last week is the benefit of proper preparation in getting reference to a marketing plan, because when we looked at profit, the market offered some early good incentives at between $4 and $4.25.
Sure.
There were good profits, and now we had a lot of shorts taking profit. I mean, we had a lot of profits in the position. So the seller, the bear, myself, we made a lot of money. We enjoyed the last 4 weeks, but unfortunately, we didn't have enough soaked. So now we're in a position where we want to bounce, so we had to basically protect our profits. I mean, so management of your position was very critical, and management of your emotions. Right now, we are in the next 30, 45 days in extremely emotional hope phase. We're hoping the weather gets bad someplace else, so the price will rally. We're hoping that exports doesn't get any worse, so we don't have a long-term problem. And in that fear is becoming, I think, prevalent, and plus just the whole political environment is uncertain going into the midterms, because it'll have tremendous impact on what can get done out of Congress later on. So having a game plan and being satisfied with a profit when it's offered was actually very illustrated over the last 5 weeks.
All right, a lot of uncertainty out there. Hopefully we'll get some answers in the next 3 weeks. Appreciate you both being here. We'll be back with more AgDay in just a minute.
For a free 2-week trial to Jim's daily global market letter, call Bauer Trading toll free at 1-800-533-8045. To talk with Bob one-on-one, call Utterback Marketing Services toll free at 800-832-1488.
Welcome back to AgDay. Our meteorologist Mike Hoffman looking at rainfall over the last week. And Mike, when you look at this map, pretty widespread. In some areas, a good rain over the last week or so.
It really was, from Florida into the Tennessee-Ohio Valley, back into many parts of the plains, as you can see. Now, zooming in on this, you can see the southeast, especially eastern Tennessee, had a bunch of rain. In fact, you can see some areas from north of Atlanta through eastern Tennessee into a few spots in Kentucky, back toward Paducah, ended up with 5-6 inches of rain over the week from previous Saturday to this past Friday. So lots of rain there. You can see back to the west, another area across Oklahoma into the panhandle of Oklahoma. That's why that drought monitor is splotchy. There are places that have had a whole bunch of rain, but other places just down the road not so much. And so you can see that area there across parts of Kansas into Oklahoma. And then you can also kind of see the northern part of Missouri, northeast Kansas that really, really need the rain. Not a whole lot. A lot of areas that didn't get too much. All right, let's take a look at things this week. Here's the jet stream. The ridge has now been shoved off into the northeast. The heat is still on, but it's being cut back temporarily across the northern plains, because you can see the ridge builds back into the Great Lakes, northern Mississippi Valley, as we head through the middle of the week. And then we start to see it all shifting west as we head toward Friday. The main part of the ridge is now building into the western plains, and the trough digs into the eastern and northeastern portions of the country, and that's going to bring some relief to the heat to the Great Lakes in the northeast next weekend into the early part of the following week as the ridge goes to the western part of the country. And that might be the pattern that we head through the rest of summer with. We'll have to wait and see. This is kind of a transitional period here. So temperatures this week, Still, the ridge is still over the east for most of the week, so we'll go above normal for most of the areas from Tennessee northward all the way back into the Central Plains and all the way back to southern portions of California, below normal in southeast Texas because of some rain, and also far northern Montana. Near normal in most of the Corn Belt, northern plains, southern plains, above normal, below normal, northeast and the west. Here's the 90-day outlook. July, most of the country, except the Tennessee Valley and the southeast, above normal. Above normal for the west and the southeast in August, below normal for the northern Great Lakes, and a little bit of that on into the month of August, as you can see. Taking a look at the 90-day outlook for precipitation, above normal in the southeastern portions of the country, Tennessee Valley, and also in the west, below normal in southern portions of Texas. That's a look across the country. Now let's take a look at some local forecasts. First of all, Miles City, Montana, sunny and comfortably warm, high of 79 degrees. Lufkin, Texas, mostly sunny, hot and humid with a high of 98. And Salisbury, Maryland, hazy sunshine, hot and humid with a high up around 95 degrees.
Machinery Pete is here next with a look at the used equipment market. And later, row crop farmers aren't the only ones adjusting to today's climate. Vineyards moving north today on In the Country. The latest combine sales numbers from the Association of Equipment Manufacturers had those numbers climbing. Well, Machinery Pete, he has a look at the used market. Here's Greg.
Well, last Thursday on a farm auction in northeast South Dakota, this very nice 2009 model John Deere 9770 STS combine with 1,902 engine hours on it sold on a farm auction in northeast South Dakota for $120,500. That's a very strong price. In fact, that's the highest auction price I've seen in the U.S. the last 27 months on an 09 model 9770. And for perspective, if we talk average auction prices, well, the last 27 2009 models that I've seen sold in the U.S., the average auction price, $82,547. And if we talk all 9770s, because of course that 09 model is an older one, the average auction price so far this year on all 9770s equals $88,077. And that's only down 4.9% from last year's average. So really, 9770s holding their value pretty well. Now, one interesting thing about that auction price last Thursday of $120,500 in South Dakota, it's almost exactly the current average dealer advertised price on an 09 model 9770. Now, if you go to machinerypete.com today, you'll see about 70 of them listed for sale, and that average dealer ad price on an 09 model is $120,457. And one interesting thing we've seen just in the last 30 days, folks, quite an uptick in search traffic on 09 model 9770s, which I guess makes sense because harvest is right around the corner, but search traffic up 41%.
All right, thanks, Greg. When we come back, the changing growing conditions for vineyards around the country.
In the Country, sponsored by Kubota. See the hardest working tractors in ag at Kubota.com or visit your local Kubota dealer today.
Vineyards in some of the world's warmer regions are being abandoned as winemakers are now growing grapes further north, even as far north as Nova Scotia. From South Africa's drought-stricken vineyards to France's noble chateaus to sunny vineyards in Australia and California, growers and winemakers say they're seeing and addressing the effects of a shifting climate. In the American West, vintners in Oregon and California are creating new wine-growing regions in areas known for their cooling coastal breezes, and that's changing some of the farming practices.
Clearly, we can't move the vineyards once they're planted, so we have to adapt to the changes that we're seeing. We can look for ways to shade the fruit so the fruit stays cooler. We can also make sure that the vines have the nutrients, something that we would have done regardless of where we were. But we have to be very mindful that the farming techniques have to change.
I recently spoke at the International Cool Climate Conference in England, and we're seeing places all further north than they've ever been. It used to be thought that the 50-degree parallel was the limit of viticulture worldwide, and now we're seeing vineyards planted up to 57 degrees in parts of Scandinavia, Nova Scotia, parts of Canada, up in British Columbia.
In Oregon, some vineyards are now grafting different rootstocks onto vines to produce more heat-tolerant plants and buying land at higher elevations. In California, there's a newly designated wine-growing region called Petaluma Gap that's taking advantage of those cooling breezes for grapes. That's all the time we have this morning. We're sure glad you spent part of your day with us. From all of us here at AgDay, I'm Clinton Griffiths. Have a great day.